and this is what you done. I think it was a big slap in the face, and it was just a disrespectful thing that they did. And while the PBA was also there, cheering him on, you the man, you the man.
They probably posted the bail.
They did.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow.
They did.
Wow.
Wow.
That's Patrick Lynch.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So we just want people to remember who Ramali is and the situation and how he died. Ramali was killed in his house. So that is showing you that you're not even safe in your own home. Because if police could just burst in your house and murder you for no reason because he thought you had a gun, and at the end of the day there wasn't no gun, they still can't produce a gun. They claim Ramali was trying to flush a bag of weed. When, since it's a death warrant to smoke a bag of weed or flush a bag of weed, it's just ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense.
Are they trying to change the venue a la Amadou Diallo?
In the Ramali case?
Yes.
Well, as of now, we don't know about any. They didn't make any motion for that yet.
Okay, because
so
I read somewhere where they said, they alluded that they were talking about changing the venue, like they did with Amadou Diallo.
Well, as of yet, we haven't heard that. Okay. Maybe when we go to court on March 26th, but my lawyer, he doesn't think that's going to change it.
Let me ask you, what does a mother do? Like that for me, because I'm a parent. Like we parents. So what does a mother do? How does a mother live with this now?
It's very hard because at night I still wake up looking for my son, because Ramon is 18. Outside kids getting in a lot of trouble, and kids in the street you don't know. So I never go to sleep without him being in the house. So even at times I still find myself looking for my son. I get up at night, because he used to stay in the living room. Me going down my hallway, the first thing I will see is him in the living room, and at times I have to catch myself. He's not there. So I hear kids outside playing, young men. It comes right back, and then I get angry. Like, I don't wish this on any parent, but I'm like, why my son? And I think that's just a natural reaction. Asking why is my son? And I always wonder if I was there, if it would make a difference, because I wasn't there when it happened. I was at work when I got that phone call.
Is it possible?
I Constance is very modest, but I just want to say that Constance and Frank, Ramali's dad, have been powerful examples of the fight back against police brutality, for the fight for justice for Ramali, and they have in fact joined with many other parents who've been in similar situations to bring those parents together to join this fight and to strengthen the fight for their own children. So Constance and Frank, who right now is on a car caravan spreading the word about tomorrow's rally, have been, as we say in Spanish, ejemplos, examples of how to channel that anger and frustration and use it to build a movement for justice for Ramali and to build a fight against police abuse.
Is it possible with your lawyer? Can you sue Officer Haste?
I'm not sure about that, but my thing is not about suing. My thing is getting justice.
No, well, I'm saying justice, but I believe if we can start suing these, because what happens in the event of a settlement, we're going to pay for that. The taxpayers.
Taxpayers, that's right.
So as long as they allow these criminals with badges to come in our communities, occupy our communities, and murder our children, these kinds of things are going to continue.
I said the same thing, because I said it. Instead of we start asking the taxpayer to pay for these lawsuits, we should start asking the PBA them to do it, and maybe they will stop.
Since they're posting bail.
They're posting bail. So make them, when all this shooting that's been going on and justify, when they start seeing they're paying all this money out, maybe they think that's, well, look, we're not going to keep defending you when you do something wrong. So maybe they probably slow down. They probably won't stop, but they probably will slow down the rate they're going.
But let me ask you another question. So what do you think? How do you think this gets righted?
this wrongs that are going on in our communities from a parent's perspective who has already been affected by this type of behavior by the New York City Police Department, what do you think fixes that?
I think by having these cops live in the community, they have to live in the community to know these people that live in the community, because you coming from upstate, you just coming to a job in the morning and go home. You're not getting to know these people. If you live in the community, you know who's the bad guys and who's the good guys. And I went to a conference, a thing they had, and I heard two politicians said New York City is too expensive to live. And if New York City is too expensive to live, maybe you need to give these cops a affordable house to live, and that way they will stay in the city. Just like they get free donuts, free everything else, give them a break on the housing, and maybe they will be able to stay in the city, and then we know these cops will know the people that live in the community and get to know people in the community, because they live upstate. They hear all this crazy thing about people in the so-called ghetto. Right. And this is all they hear. So when they come in, they have this barrier up already, ready to war. And it's not so. Get to know these people, and then you see the difference. You don't listen every time people say something. You come and look and see for yourself before you start judging.
What do you want our listening audience to know today?
I just want people to know that don't sit back and take anything they just dish out to you. We have to stand up as people, as citizens of this country, and fight back until we start standing up together as one. This is the only way we're going to beat the system. We keep separating ourselves from people. All these different organizations separate themselves. Maybe if we join together as one, then we make a difference.
Gotcha. Listen, you're listening to WHCR 90.3, the voice of Harlem. Please join in this conversation. Give us a call at 212-650-6903. And join in tomorrow, Saturday, February 2nd at 2 p.m. at 749 is the starting place, 749 East 229th Street. That's between White Plains Road and Barnes Avenue, and join in the first anniversary for protest and justice for Marley.
Right off the 2 train.
Right off the 2 train.
What's the stop
At
on that?
225th Street.
225th Street. Yeah.
I don't want to say anniversary because this is not a marriage or something like that.
Okay.
I never say. I just say memorial.
So memorial. So let's change the words so we give them power. Listen, Miss Ma'am, what I would like to do is say that whatever we can do here at WAC on Another Perspective, we appreciate you coming, because it takes a lot as a parent to come and talk about just pain, and it's fresh. And so anything that we can do here, we would be more than willing to do. So if it means that you have to come back and talk about, and because we want to see how you heal also, because your healing lets us see how we heal as a nation, as a community, as a citizenry. So stay in contact with us and let us know how we can be a part of whatever that's going on with you in your healing process, and also how this changes, and what we want to see what you're going to do to make this thing change also.
Thank you.
You said you guys have coalesced with other mothers.
Yes,
what's her name? Ferguson.
Malcolm, which is Miss Young, Juanita Young. Yes, Margarita Rosario. Miss Reyes Polanco, which Polanco, that's a young man that was shot on the highway, and Chantel Davis, Mohammed Ba. And I also keep in touch with Miss Nicole Bell a lot, and Mr. Bell. So they've been through it before me, so they helped me through it a lot also.
Oh, that's great.
So we keep in touch with family, and Mr. Chamberlain, which is a 60-year-old,
White Plains.
White Plains.
Yes.
I speak to him a lot. He called me 5 o'clock in the morning. I could call him whatever time, because we don't really sleep because of their situation. We don't get sleep at all. We don't eat like we used to, and these are the things that affect us. Sometimes our bodies, sometimes it feel like it's crashing, but we don't want to stop because we don't want people to forget about what happened, so we keep going.
Let me ask you a question, Jose.
Yes.
Jose, right?
Yep.
As an organization, what role do you take now, and what, how do you see some of this changing? Because of organizations like the one that you're a part of.
Well, I think the thing about Ramali's call is that had Ramali's call, the organization, not been formed, this case is, sadly, as so many other cases, would have just kind of vanished. And people would be asking, so I remember about that 18-year-old who was killed in the bathroom in front of his grandmother and his 6-year-old brother. So what happened to that? And we have kept the word, we have kept public awareness. We've gone throughout the Northeast Bronx community where Constance lives, where many of our folks live. We have constantly been talking to people about the case. People have been asking us for updates. There were 18 weeks of demonstrations in front of the 47th precinct, which is the precinct out of which the officers come that killed Romali Graham. So we went there 18 Thursdays in a row until the summer to commemorate Romali Graham being 18 years old. And we're going to start those kinds of demonstrations again. So we've been really getting the word out. And, you know, we've been getting the word out. I mean, this is a murder, just like Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
You know, and we've been putting the word out to New Yorkers. Hey, you know what? Yeah, it's really important to support the struggle for justice for Trayvon Martin, but this is right here in the Bronx. You got to come up to the Bronx. I know a lot of people are shy about coming up to the Bronx.
You also have to do with the police have a tactic where they try to fill up the courtrooms so there are no seats.
They did.
Else.
They did it the first time, but this time when we went to court, it wasn't no room, not even for his girlfriend to sit with all our people in there. So they tend to. But I think they're gonna try that when the trial starts.
No question. That's their policy, and they sit wide legged. And try to intimidate.
And I just want to make sure people also know Richard Hay was never trained to be a narcotics cop. He was never trained. He only been on the force for 4 years. So that's also show you there's a problem in the police force bumping people up without getting the credential they're supposed to have to be in a certain position.
This is the case, you know, and excuse my naiveness or I would even have to venture to say my ignorance. This is the case where on the television you saw the kid running in the house.
Yes.
No, he walked
in the house. Okay, my bad. Let me correct that.
What happened? The cops put out a video of a person running. That's the first video they put out, a person running, and tried to say it was my son. Unknown to them, it was a surveillance camera on the building I live in, and it showed my son casually walking, took the key out of his pocket, and put it in the door and went in. And moments later, you see the cops running from the opposite direction from where my son was coming from.
So wait a minute. What you're saying to me is what I saw first was not your son.
No.
Wow.
And this is the problem, because people think my son was running, because this is what the cops do. They try to, make the victim a victim again by spreading all these lies. Yeah, because they said that he was running. They saw a butt of a gun and all. And I think at one point they said he was a drug transaction or something like that, and it was never true. The video from, I think it was channel 11 or 7, that shows my son with his two friends casually walking up the block, and stopped and gave his friend a pound like any normal kid, and kept on moving. And this kid's pants sag. He pulled his pants up.
Wow. You know, one of the things that I find interesting, right, is that a month or maybe even more was given to the Newtown situation and those children, and the horrible travesty that was. You know, but very little and short-lived are the instances or the attention given to our children that are killed in our communities every day. And I don't know what is the mechanism that allows for that to happen. You know, I'm troubled by how 28 is more than 200 and something in, say, Chicago that are killed in a month, and the 63 that are killed in Chicago to 50, whatever the number was that you gave me, Henry, this afternoon. And what allows for that to happen? You know, so I'm glad that y'all are not allowing that to happen by keeping this alive and fresh in our minds. Now it becomes fresh again, because I don't know what it is with even myself. You know, because I would almost be forgetting about it. You know, like it's the social norm, our kids getting killed, and so you think about it for a day or two, and then you go on with the business of having Dunkin' Donuts coffee. But the truth is, we need not be until it happens to you.
And that's what I tell people. Today's my son. Tomorrow it could be yours. Don't forget, because if you have a black or brown child, it don't even matter. It could be a female, because Chantel Davis was a female when he shot and killed her in Brooklyn. So it's happened to women and boys. So
and no age limit.
And no age limit.
Right.
No age limit. It seems like 18 is the cutoff time for a young man now.
Wow.
Calling number 212-650-6903. I think what happens also is that they demonize us. So, like when you were talking about these guys who come in, I used to live in Tracy Towers, and they would take the tests at Clinton. They'd be parked all over the sidewalks. They come from Suffolk County, Nassau County, Dutchess County, Orange County, and they come in and the images that they've been portrayed to them. That's you know, so that's why they call it skells, perpetrators, perps, animals, and so. But in their communities, what they do, they take these kids home.
Yeah.
They take our children. They put them either they murder them or they put them in send them to Rikers Island.
Yeah.
And DeWitt Clinton, since I live not very far from there, still looks like a prison because you got all those cop cars around the outside, and they're destroying that school.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with the schools in our communities. You know, you have the
got 3 schools in one now.
That's what this guy who's going. Thank God he's leaving. but then you don't know who's going to take his place. But him and Kelly, they condone
bad behavior.
This behavior. You know,
they're big advocates of stop, and frisk. And those are the kind of policies that criminalize young black and Latino youth and put 1 out of 4 blacks into the parole criminal system, etc., the criminal justice system.
And that's part of why Romali was killed, to racial profiling, because that's exactly what they did.
Exactly.
Well, we have to understand something has to fuel the prison industrial complex. So when you say justice system, it's not industrial. It's industrial.
Injustice.
Injustice. I don't know.
So let's remind the listeners, tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's on Barnes.
At 749 East 229th Street in the Bronx, between White Plains Road and Barnes. And we're going to start gathering at 2 o'clock. So we're asking everybody, just come out and support us. Let us know that you didn't forget about us. And, you're with us for the long haul.
And we're going to give the phone number.
You could call 347-903-5379, and that's a call that a phone thing that we set up for Romali's call. If you have any question, you could just leave a message there, and somebody will call you back. Or
what's that number again?
347-903-5379. And we also has a Gmail account where you could send us email, and somebody will also respond to you. And that's Romali'sCall@gmail.com. RAMARLEYSCALL@gmail.com.
One more time.
RAMARLEYSCALL@gmail.com.
One of the things she has on the fly, it says, "We will not be silent, and we will not be silenced." And thank y'all for not being silenced about this particular issue that affects all of us in our community. And you're right. That might have happened to you a year ago, but it potentially could happen to anybody today. And nothing has changed since a year ago. And so when I think about that, I think that we need to maybe go to the root of how that will change in a policy. There has to be a reason, I think policies have to be developed and implemented that stop them from being able to pull out their weapons under certain conditions. I think there needs to be so many checks and balances before a guy can make a decision to pull out his gun. I think arbitrarily they just pull him out and start shooting. I thought there would have to be, like in the military, there has to be a command. Somebody got to give an order before people start shooting.
But the point about that, there was a sergeant was there with my son. And he was there, and they still went in my house.
And he was in charge.
And he was in charge.
He was in charge.
So he should be indicted too.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That I think it was unfair with the charges, because if we all in this room went into a robbery and somebody get killed, we all are getting charged.
Have you guys spoken to DA Robert Johnson?
Yes, we.
What do you think of District Attorney Johnson?
I'm keeping it.
PG.
Yeah. I just hope they do the right thing. I spoke to him a couple of times, and we voiced that this is our son, and I hope he will fight for my son the same way if this was his son. And that's all we asking for. We just want justice for her son, the right thing to be done. No cover up, no missing the evidence or stuff, stuff like that normally happen. We just want him to do the right thing. Fight for my son as if this was your son, and that's all we asking for.
Yeah, I noticed in the beginning he said some strong statements, but I'm just curious, how are those statements still Is this Michael Jackson moonwalking off those statements?
Well, they getting ready getting ready to go back to court in March. So hopefully, I think the trial might start in May or June. So he's not going to give us too much information because he probably don't want us to go out and start saying stuff. So he keeps everything on the wrap right now.
Okay, so like what Joseph was saying, you have a platform here.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
We can galvanize and keep this in the community's mindset, so they can come out and support these guys. Because, like I say, I'm a person who thinks you have to sue the police. You have to sue the perpetrators, and then it'll be something that they'll think. They'll think twice before they just.
Can I ask you a question then? Because it's not just Richard Haste who pulled the trigger.
No.
It goes up to Commissioner Kelly. Right. It goes up to Bloomberg. And it goes up to the folks who control this city and continue to condemn blacks and Latinos, people of color, as second-class citizens. So, I'm fine with suing Richard Haste, but we got to sue all the way up the ladder, and that's why we're trying to build a movement. Because as you all said before, we don't have really access to mass communication. You don't see us in the New York Post or the Daily. Well, you might see us in the Post, and Constance being condemned as a terrible parent kind of thing, or the Daily News or the New York Times or whatever. We should be more in the Amsterdam News about what's happening in terms of this case. And I like the Amsterdam News, but right till this point, the way we've gotten the word out is through the street. Through our feet, through giving out flyers, through having demonstrations, through being on radio shows like this, but we do need to really fight. And I ask anybody who's listening to this program, if you have a show or if you have a newsletter or whatever kind of thing, get in touch with us, because we need to get the word out, because there's a code of silence there. And it's not just the blue code of silence, but it goes throughout the whole media industry.
Yeah.
Well, when I listen to you guys talk, and you're talking about who's responsible, who should be held accountable, I think about us as citizenry. If we allow for it to go unchecked and don't do anything about it, then, why should I have an expectation that Mr. Kelly and Bloomberg and all of them should do anything when in my own community I'm forgetting about it, how it happens and why it happens. So I think that we need to be held more accountable for what we do and don't do, and what we have not done. Because I remember a time when they just didn't come to communities and do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they knew that they couldn't do those type of things in our community. I remember that. I'm not so young I'm old enough to remember there was a time when they just didn't come in a place and didn't fear that they was going to have to come back out of that place. And so maybe those types of things need to happen again. They've lost respect for our communities. And so maybe we need to gain back that respect. And I don't know really the mechanism for doing it, but I think, I don't have any expectation that those guys don't disregard our communities. I believe that they do. I know that they don't. So then what do we do about that? So that they don't feel like they can just come in and walk down the block and run in behind a kid and do something to him.
This is where I said people really got to get involved. You have the Stop and Frisk where they started videotaping people. So when Kelly came out and said, Stop and Frisk, the numbers are down, it's not because of your officers, it's because of citizens like us out there videotaping your corrupt cop doing bad stuff. And they know I'm going to be filming, so I have to be on my best behavior. And this is why crime is kind of down.
Right. When guys like
Jazz Aiden and all them out there videotaping them.
Thank you.
Yes. We have been somewhat disempowered, and we believe that just by electing so-called decent politicians that we're going to get change. And one of the things I think that Ramali's call and many other groups that are fighting for housing, for better health care, for better education, and throughout the education system, that's one place Bloomberg has really destroyed and dumbed down kids and gotten kids to drop out of school, etc., etc. And so, we need to as you said before, Cops didn't just come into the community before when we had the Panthers and the Young Lords. They were looking over their shoulder, you know, and we need to reestablish these kinds of groups so that not just the cops, but those greedy landlords and anybody else. And our kids need jobs. I work with young people, and I want to put this out there.
Put it out
jobs,
and more
jobs. You don't want kids on the corner. And open the community centers like they used to be open, 24/7. Give them an opportunity. And more people are homeless.
Well, let's get them open, Jose.
Let's get the.
Let's get them open. It's our fight.
I'm going to give the websites. That's RAMARLEYSCALL, Ramali Call. That's at gmail.com. That's RAMARLEYSCALL at gmail.com. And the phone number? 347 903-5379, and that's tomorrow, 2 o'clock at 749 East 229th Street, and that's the number 2 train to 225th. Okay, and that phone number again, 347-903-5379.
If you want to come out tomorrow for the first memorial for Ramali, please come out tomorrow and be a part of that movement that says that we should not forget, and how we can bring some justice to an unjust situation, and not just for Ramali, but for hundreds of kids that have been affected by this, and hundreds of parents have been affected, and who may be. We need to think about the kids that may be affected. So not only are we talking about our past, but our future is at risk here. And you know, and I said it earlier, I'm sitting here with my 6-year-old daughter, and God only knows that I don't want to have the sleepless nights that you have as a parent. So, I understand my responsibility and the part that I need to play in this also. So thank you again for coming and being a part of another perspective.
So, Ms. Malcolm, what is the final thing you'd like to say to our audience?
I just want to let people know I'm fighting for justice. This is not just for Ramali, because Ramali is no longer here. I'm fighting for all the kids I adopted. These kids that are out there, they became my kids. That's who I'm fighting for. And I want the community to help me to fight so this injustice doesn't done to somebody else. And we got to go out there again, stomping in the street, asking for justice again. I don't want this to happen. I don't want another parent feel what I'm feeling, because it's not a nice feeling. Even the man that murdered my son, I wouldn't even wish this on him. So come out and support us and help us get justice for Ramali and all the other black and brown people that's out here fighting.
Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Jose?
You know, Constance said it best. This is not just a fight for Ramali. This is a fight for all the almost, over 700,000, close to 700,000 young people who were stopped and frisked last year. This is a fight for all the homeless people. This is a fight really against an evil, corrupt, racist system that continues to keep us down. And we got to keep on fighting.
Say that again.
An evil, unjust, racist system that tries to keep us down, and we got to keep on fighting.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a wrap. Thank you.
This is another perspective, and this is a Brothers in Recovery production. So 411 is in the studio. Don't turn that down.
And we will see y'all next week, same time, same station. Another perspective.